I feel like I'm living in some surreal nightmare, and I need to get this off my chest. Maybe writing it all down will help me process the chaos my life has become. My wife and I have been married for 7 years, together for almost 10. She's a nurse at the local hospital, outgoing, always the life of the party. I'm a software developer, more on the quiet side. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We've been struggling with infertility for a while now, which has been tough, especially on her. She's been distant lately, but I figured we'd work through it like we always had. Then, last Thursday, everything changed. I was using her laptop since mine was updating when a message notification popped up. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you again." It was from a doctor at her hospital. My stomach dropped. Against my better judgment, I scrolled through their chat history. Months of messages, intimate conversations, inside jokes, pictures, plans. They'd been having an affair for nearly a year. This guy, let's call him Dr. A-hole, works with her. I've met him at hospital events. He always seemed friendly. Too friendly, I guess. When she got home, I confronted her. Surprisingly, I stayed calm and just asked her why. Instead of apologizing, she went on the attack. She blamed me, said I was emotionally unavailable, said our fertility struggles had pushed her away, said she felt lonely. Somehow, this entire situation became my fault. I left that night and have been staying with a friend, trying to process everything. Our friends are divided. Some say I should try to work it out, others think I should run. My parents want us to try counseling. Her parents haven't said a word to me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Was I blind? Did I miss the signs, or is she just manipulating me? I don't even know what's real anymore. Then, she called me yesterday, asking to talk. I agreed to meet her today, thinking she might want to discuss divorce terms, or maybe even apologize. But when we met, she had something completely different in mind. She informed me that Dr. A-hole has kidney disease. It's serious, and he needs a transplant soon. His family members aren't matches, and the waiting list is long. Then came the kicker. She didn't ask. She demanded that I get tested to be his donor. Her exact words? "After all you've put me through, it's literally the least you could do." I thought I was hallucinating. I actually laughed, thinking it was some messed up joke. It wasn't. She spent 20 minutes explaining why I should feel obligated to help. Our marriage problems were mostly my fault. She wasted years trying to have a baby with me. He's a doctor who saves lives every day. I have 2 healthy kidneys and don't need both. The whole time she was talking, I just sat there in shock. This woman, who betrayed me for a year, was now asking me to undergo major surgery to save her boyfriend's life. And she made it sound like I owed her. For one insane moment, I actually considered it. That's how deeply manipulated I've been. Some twisted part of me thought that if I did this, maybe she'd see how much I loved her. Maybe she'd come back. How pathetic is that? I left without answering her and immediately called my sister. She lost her mind. My best friend said the same thing. I'd be insane to even consider it. I've started therapy. My therapist's reaction when I told her about the kidney request was priceless. She helped me see how deeply manipulated I've been. I'm continuing therapy twice a week. I've also scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney. Meanwhile, my wife keeps texting, asking when I'm getting the compatibility test done. She even scheduled an appointment for me at the hospital. I haven't responded. Part of me wants to tell her to go to hell, but my therapist suggested I stay strategic. I'm documenting everything: texts, emails, voicemails. I'm also keeping a journal of everything that happens. I feel clearer than I have in years. It hurts like hell, but in a way, it's freeing. Right now, I need to figure out how to handle the hospital appointment she made for me. The petty part of me wants to show up just to tell everyone I'm not doing it, but the smarter part knows I should probably just ignore it. Over the next few weeks, I thought long and hard about my next move. After talking with my therapist, friends, and family, I decided to take decisive action. I met with my divorce attorney, who drafted the paperwork. I documented everything: the affair, the messages, and especially her insane kidney demand. My attorney was floored and assured me I was making the right choice. Meanwhile, my wife kept up the pressure about the kidney. She told her family, her friends, and even some of our mutual friends. She spun the story, painting me as a selfish monster letting a man die out of petty revenge. Some people actually bought it and reached out, telling me to be the bigger person. Fuck that. The hospital appointment she scheduled was last Friday. I decided to show up, just not for the reason she expected. That morning, I got dressed, taking extra care with my appearance. I wanted to look my best for what I knew would be a memorable day. When I arrived at the hospital, there was a whole entourage in the waiting area. My wife, her parents, her sister, Dr. Ahol's family. They were all anxiously waiting for my test results. My wife spotted me and rushed over, relief washing over her face. "I knew you'd do the right thing," she said, squeezing my arm. Without a word, I handed her an envelope. She opened it, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to rage. "What the fuck is this?" she hissed, her voice rising enough that people started staring. "Exactly what it looks like," I said calmly. "I'm not giving a kidney to the man you cheated on me with. And I'm not staying married to someone who would even ask." She broke down in tears, accusing me of killing him. As her sobs filled the room, Dr. Ahol's mother rushed over, demanding to know what was happening. My wife wasted no time twisting the story, telling her I was backing out. His mother turned to me, her face etched with desperation. She tried to guilt me, saying her son saved lives every day. "Can you really live with yourself knowing you could have helped?" she pleaded. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Your son didn't seem too concerned about my life when he was screwing my wife." Without another word, I turned and walked out. My wife chased me into the parking lot, cycling between hysterical tears and furious accusations. She called me selfish, cruel, vindictive. She screamed that I was punishing an innocent man for her mistake. I didn't respond. I just got in my car and drove away. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has been flooded with messages. Her family is livid, mutual friends are picking sides, and my wife has been calling and texting nonstop, shifting between rage, pleading, and manipulation. I blocked most of them. Changed the locks, too, since she still had a key. For now, I'm staying with my sister, just to be safe. The most validating part? Several of her hospital co-workers reached out privately. Some said they always suspected something was off between her and Dr. Ahol. One nurse even admitted they'd been obvious for months. "I'm sorry no one told you," she said. "Despite everything, I feel lighter, like I've shed a weight I didn't even realize I was carrying. Yes, I'm sad. Yes, I'm angry. But mostly, I feel free. Free from her manipulation, her blame shifting, her emotional abuse. Things I hadn't even recognized until now. Therapy has been eye-opening. I'm beginning to see the patterns in our relationship that were toxic from the start. How she'd subtly undermine my confidence, twist situations to make me the villain, and withdraw affection whenever I didn't comply with her expectations. The divorce proceedings will take time, but my attorney assures me I'm in a strong position. At this point, I don't even care about the assets or the money. I just want out. As for Dr. Ahol, I've heard through mutual connections that he's struggling to find a donor. Not my problem. They made their choices. Now they can live with the consequences. 6 months later. It's been about 6 months since the hospital showdown, and things have finally started to settle. First, the divorce is final. It moved faster than expected. Once the initial shock wore off, I think my ex realized how bad she'd look if the whole kidney demand story came out in court. We split the assets pretty evenly. I kept the house, bought her out. She took most of the furniture. Fine by me. I wanted a fresh start anyway. As for Dr. Ahol, he eventually found a donor. Not sure who, don't care. I've heard his health has improved. Whatever. I don't wish death on the guy, but I also don't spend a single ounce of energy worrying about him. Socially, the fallout has been interesting. Word spread fast about what happened. My ex's reputation at the hospital took a massive hit. Turns out, demanding your husband donate an organ to your affair partner crosses a line, even for people who might have overlooked the cheating. Some of the nurses who originally sided with her have since reached out, apologizing. Even her younger brother contacted me to say he thought what she did was messed up and that he was sorry for how their family reacted. That meant more than I expected. As for my ex, she's tried every tactic in the book to reconcile. First, angry messages about how I ruined her life. Then, tearful apologies about how she made a terrible mistake. Then, practical appeals, reminiscing about the good times we had. Most recently, she sent me a handwritten letter claiming therapy has helped her realize her narcissistic tendencies and that she wants to make amends. I haven't responded to any of it. My therapist says this is textbook behavior. She's cycling through different strategies, trying to regain control. The fact that I'm not engaging is probably driving her insane. That's not my intention, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't satisfying. As for me, I'm doing better than I expected. Therapy has been life-changing. I've realized just how much of myself I lost in that relationship, how I'd been walking on eggshells for years without even realizing it, how I internalized her criticisms until they became my own inner voice. Now, I'm focusing on me. I've reconnected with old friends. I play basketball again on weekends. I picked up the guitar, something I always wanted to learn. I even adopted a goofy pit bull mix from the shelter. He's my best buddy now. Dating? Not a priority yet. I've had a few offers, including one from a nurse at my ex's hospital. Decline that one. Too messy. I'm just not ready. My therapist says that's normal. Before I can be a good partner to someone else, I need to rebuild me. One of the biggest surprises? Learning how many other men have gone through similar experiences. Emotional abuse, manipulation, it's not something we talk about enough. I joined a support group, and it's been eye-opening. I've even started sharing my story there, hoping it helps someone else find the strength to leave a toxic relationship. Some days are still tough. I catch myself wondering if I could have done something differently, if I missed the signs earlier, if there was a way to save what we had. But those moments are getting rarer. What I do know is this: I deserve better. We all do. No one should stay with a partner who betrays them, blames them, and then has the audacity to demand they literally give up a piece of themselves to fix a problem they created. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited to find out. Looking back now, it feels like a lifetime ago, like a story that happened to someone else. The confusion, the hurt, the sheer absurdity of it all. The idea that I was once willing to give up a part of myself, literally, for someone who betrayed me? Unbelievable. But time has a way of reshaping perspective. Therapy, self-reflection, and distance have done wonders. That broken version of me, the one who thought he had to prove his worth through sacrifice? I barely recognize him now. It's been about 18 months since the divorce was finalized, and in that time, my life has completely transformed. My ex and I haven't spoken directly since, and even our mutual friends have stopped bringing her up. Our social circles have naturally drifted apart. For those curious, yes, she and Dr. A-hole are still together. Apparently, they got engaged last year. I don't follow her on social media, but friends have mentioned it in passing. Honestly, I hope they work out, not for their happiness, but because they deserve each other. As for the kidney, he eventually received one from a coworker at the hospital. I can only imagine the office politics surrounding that. The house I kept after the divorce. Sold it last year. Too many memories, too many ghosts of the past. I needed not just a physical change, but a symbolic fresh start. Now, I live in a smaller place closer to downtown, with a nice yard for my dog, who, at 3 years old, has endless energy and keeps me on my toes. Career-wise, I made a big change. Left my old company about a year ago, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The work was fine, but I craved something more fulfilling. I joined a startup where I have more creative input, better pay, and greater flexibility. Funny how leaving a toxic relationship can give you the confidence to make other bold, positive changes. As for dating, I took my time. I waited a full year before even trying again. Had a few short-term relationships that didn't work out, but they taught me a lot about what I want. And, more importantly, what I won't tolerate. Then, about 8 months ago, I met someone. Let's call her Kay. Kay is a graphic designer I met at a friend's art show. She's smart, creative, independent, and most importantly, emotionally healthy. We took things slow. From the beginning, I was upfront about my divorce and the whole kidney saga. At first, she thought I was joking until I showed her the Reddit posts. She's been incredibly patient with my occasional trust issues and moments of insecurity. But the biggest difference between this relationship and my marriage? When we disagree, we communicate. No manipulation, no guilt trips, no scorekeeping. Just two adults trying to understand each other. It's refreshing. I've also stayed involved with the men's support group. What started as a place to heal has turned into a passion. I began as a participant, became a regular speaker, and now help facilitate meetings. It's rewarding to see guys walk in, broken, confused, and unsure of themselves, then gradually rebuild their confidence and self-worth. Last month, I ran into my ex's sister at a grocery store. It was awkward at first, but we ended up having coffee. She apologized for how her family reacted during the divorce and admitted they now see my ex's manipulative behavior more clearly, especially since she's pulled similar stunts with them. I didn't need the validation, but I won't lie. It felt good to hear. The hardest part of the past 2 years? Rebuilding my ability to trust, not just partners, but myself. For a long time, I second-guessed every decision, wondering if I was being naive again, if I was missing red flags. Therapy helped me realize that trusting again isn't foolish, but refusing to learn from experiences. Sometimes, I think about the infertility struggles and wonder what life would have been like if we'd had kids. Then I imagine going through that divorce with children caught in the middle, and I feel grateful for the bullet dodged. Kay and I have talked about kids in an abstract way. She's open to it, but neither of us is in a rush. People sometimes ask if I regret how I handled things, if I wish I'd been less dramatic with the divorce papers at the hospital. My answer? Not for a second. That moment, standing up for myself, refusing to be manipulated, was the catalyst for everything good that's happened since. Sometimes, you need a defining moment to break free from a toxic cycle. If there's one thing I want others to take from my story, it's this. Pay attention to how you feel in your relationship. If you're constantly anxious, always trying to prove your worth, walking on eggshells, or questioning your own reality, that's not love. That's manipulation. And you deserve better. Life isn't perfect. I still have bad days, still have moments of doubt. But the difference now? I know my worth. And that knowledge has changed everything.